Hello, my name is Nick Robertson and I'm the head of the employment group at Mayer Brown's UK office, and I'm one of the firm's global practice leaders for the Employment and Benefits Group. For several years now, we've run a highly successful podcast, UK Employment Law, The View from Mayer Brown, and it's been available through iTunes and the Mayer Brown website, for example. We're now going to be extending the podcast so that it appears on YouTube as well. And so the purpose of this video is to introduce the podcast, explain a little bit about what we're trying to do, and then all of the various different ways in which you can now get hold of that podcast. First of all, it might help to explain why we're doing a podcast at all. Delivering employment law know-how is, of course, a key part of our role, but delivering it to clients in the right format and timescale is often challenging, particularly given the pace of change in this field. Written updates remain the preferred format for many law firms, and we do that too. But we appreciate these can easily be lost in the massive information sent through to clients and contacts. Accordingly, we set up a fortnightly employment law podcast, which was designed to offer something a bit different. It was designed to have expert opinion provided through an accessible medium, and it could be accessed at a time that suited the listener, for example, whilst commuting to and from work. We're extremely pleased that this podcast has now been nominated for an award for the best provision of know-how. We started the podcast series 3 years ago now, and in each episode I go through usually 3 recent cases that have been decided in the previous fortnight and which have a significant impact on employers generally. The aim is to provide a commentary which focuses on the practical impact for employers and identifies the takeaway points. The target audience is HR practitioners, employee relations managers and lawyers, of course. Episodes last approximately 20 minutes or so, and the time spent listening counts towards solicitors' CPD requirements as well, so there is an additional benefit. Periodically, I'll also interview key external speakers who are leaders in their field and who have direct involvement in topical developments. Recent examples have included a representative from ACAS, someone from the TUC, and most recently the in-house lawyer who handled the first reported case on Twitter misuse to go up to the Employment Appeal Tribunal. Guests can offer their perspective on major cases, which provide valuable insights which might otherwise be hard to gain. Okay, so that's why we do the podcast. The podcast is already accessible through a number of channels. So on iTunes you can search for UK Employment Law, The View from Mayer Brown, and then you can subscribe to the series or listen to individual episodes from the archive if you prefer. It's also available via My Yahoo and Google. Alternatively, there's an app available from the App Store, the Mayer Brown Global Employment and Benefits app. If you go into the publications library in there and set the filter to audio, that provides you with a complete archive of the podcast episodes. You can also get the podcast through the Mayer Brown website, mayerbrown.com, via the main employment and benefits page. However, we thought there was an opportunity to continue to widen the choice available for those who might like to listen to the podcast. We did toy with the idea of turning the podcast, which is only recorded on an audio file, into a video. But the prospect of asking people to sit and watch me sitting in a small room, waving my arms around, probably wouldn't make for great video. So we're making the audio feed available via YouTube for those who are used to accessing information in that way. One advantage is that we'll be able to post the case name and reference on screen as we're dealing with that particular case. If you're not watching this video on YouTube already, then you can either search through Mayer Brown and access the podcast from one of our channels, or you can search on YouTube for UK Employment Law, The View from Mayer Brown. I'm extremely pleased that the podcast audience is continuing to grow. And having been the presenter throughout the history of this podcast, it is something that genuinely I can say I enjoy doing every fortnight. I hope you'll enjoy listening to the podcast. And if you have any comments or indeed suggestions for guests or subject matters for the podcast, please do get in touch. My contact details will appear on the screen at the end of this recording. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you will subscribe to the podcast, either by YouTube or one of the existing channels. Thank you.